I gaze upon this great historic assembly, this unprecedented gathering of young people, I cannot help thinking that 100 years from now, the historians will be calling this not the beat generation, but the generation of integration.
Throughout history, politics and sports in America often run along parallel lines. No sport rode the coattails of the civil rights movement more closely than the game of college basketball. One Northeastern school in particular that reaped the benefits of being colorblind was Providence College. With the help of an integrated team, this small Catholic school would win 2 national invitational tournament titles over the span of 3 years, during a time when many major programs would not integrate. As the basketball world would soon find out, these black players were no ordinary student athletes. In addition, they would have a huge impact on the sport for many years to come.
John Johnson is now, in his own way, lighting that red Auerbach cigar.
This is a story of integration in college basketball. This is Providence College, black and white. Providence College is a liberal arts institution located in the state of Rhode Island with a focus on the well-being of the individual. A private institution in southern New England, the school is run by the Dominican Friars, a Catholic religious order dedicated to the pursuit of truth and spirituality that embraces the whole person. This creed carries over from not only the church and classroom, but also to the basketball court.
I remember when I first got there, and I knew immediately that they were about the person, about education, in addition to me being an athlete.
I can tell you about Providence College. They looked out after you. They made sure that you were on campus at 10 o'clock. They made sure that you weren't getting into mischief. They made sure you did your homework. And if you didn't, they would, you'd hear from the priests, Dominican fathers on the campus, not just the coach.
Providence had all male, coat and tie, jacket every day to class. When you were a freshman, you had to wear a little beanie, little hat that had PC on the top. And lights out at 11 o'clock. If the light wasn't out, the priest would come by, father would come by, knock on the door. Johnny, yes, father, it's 11 o'clock, lights out. Okay, father.
Being Catholic, I had to take 4 years of theology and 3 years of philosophy. You know, I don't know if they still make them do that, but we had to at that time, in addition to your major. And so my first year there in logic class, we had a logic class that the very first day we're filling out the attendance cards and they collected them. And we had this Dominican father named Father Heath. And everybody thought he was a tough guy. And he had been in World War II. He was supposedly a submarine commander, you know, and everything. So after we filled the cards out and he collected them, he said, he looked at the cards and he said, Mr. Whalen and Mr. Wilkins, please stand up. And Dick Whalen was a kid in my class who was also on the basketball team. He said, I don't like athletes, and in particular, I don't like basketball players. So don't ever cut my class without a good reason.
This emphasis on discipline and fostering an environment where each person comes to understand his or her identity dates back to the early days of the school's history and would serve an individual throughout a lifetime. The Great Depression of the 1930s was an era filled with a great deal of racial hostility in the United States. With unemployment at more than 25%, whites called for blacks to be fired from any job as long as whites were unemployed. The election of Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1932 began to turn the tide of change of racial policies in America. It was during this era of racial tension that Providence College welcomed black athletes and administrators as part of the Friar family, thus becoming one of the first athletic programs in America to integrate. As early as the 1932-1933 season, a young man from East Providence became the Friars' first black basketball player. Dexter Davis was a hulking figure who initially played football for the Friars. In his college yearbook, Dexter's classmates described him as modest to a fault and has wended his way through a career of inherent politeness. Another key African American on campus at this time was the school's first athletic trainer, Mal Brown.
When I got here, I would say practically, the school would be all white. But we had this great tradition because of a black player, who had played here with us. And when he graduated, he remained with the team and became a team trainer and was like father counselor and so forth for countless football players. So much so that when he died, he was waked in the rotunda of Harkins Hall. And his funeral was like the second largest funeral I think they had in Providence at the time.
He was very efficient at what he did. He was a very proud man and certainly demanded the respect of everyone around him.
The people that I talked to that knew him loved the man. I guess he was just beyond exceptional as far as interacting with the athletes and all.
So his name, Mal Brown, became the name of the first alumni club.
Some 70 years after his death, Mal Brown's impact at PC can still be felt today, as the Friars' annual scrimmage is named after him. Mal is even honored each year by the Mal Brown Award, which is given to the Providence senior athlete who best personifies the ideals of sportsmanship, courage, and honor. Friar teams of the 1940s and early 1950s enjoyed modest success, but some on campus had loftier goals for Providence athletics. School president Father Slavin had a vision for the basketball program. After viewing a Big Five doubleheader in Philadelphia, the Dominican schoolmaster believed PC could compete on a national level. There was also a movement taking shape to build a basketball facility on campus that could serve as a legitimate home for the Friars. At a cost of $2 million, construction for Alumni Hall began in 1954. This state-of-the-art college gym would improve the number of seats from 500 at Harkins Hall to some 2,620. As the bricks of the new facility were being placed into position, Another keystone to the Friars' success would come in the form of its head coach. Joe Mullaney only had 1 year of head coaching experience before coming to Providence, but with his guidance and coaching vision, the Friars would transcend the ranks from small unknown Catholic program to national champions. As Mullaney hit the recruiting trail in 1956, his roots growing up in the New York area would come to pay huge dividends in the form of one African-American player in particular.
A priest friend of ours, a guy by the name of Father Tom Mannion, who was a priest at Holy Rosary Church, and that was the church we went to.
We played against each other, church teams. You know, I played for St. Philip's, he played for Holy Rosary.
And he knew the family well and knew that we didn't have money to be able to go to college. And so he wrote to Father Bagley, who he had met at one time, who was the athletic director at Providence College, and told him about me. And so Father Bagley passed the letter on to the coach, Joe Mullaney. And so they invited me to come to a tryout. Back then, it was legal. And I went to this tryout out in, it was an area called Chaminade High School, all the way out on Long Island. And I went out there, and it must have been 200 kids there. And I don't know how you could tell anything, because you know, we were running up and down and didn't show much. I didn't see much, you know. So Joe then came down to New York because they had the public school athletic league championships, high school. And I had already graduated, so Tommy was playing in it, and Joe was at the game. He talked to me, said hello, he was very nice, showed me a catalog of Providence College, but I never heard from them after that.
As the summer of 1956 wore on, Lenny continued to improve on the court, and soon others would take notice.
Well, that summer, we had a lot of summer leagues, high school summer leagues, and I was on a team that played in the summer league, this one tournament out on Long Island. And the two best teams knocked each other off, and I was on a team that got to the finals. And the team we were playing was called Dan Palmer's All-Stars, and they had all the high school All-Americans on those teams. And we beat them, and I was the MVP, and Joe Mullaney's dad was at the game. And he saw it, so he sent Joe the clipping and said, "This can't be the same kid that wants to go to Providence." And within a day or so, they called and said I was accepted, you know, and I had a scholarship, and so that's how I got recruited to Providence.
With a unique eye for talent, Mullaney also saw something special in Wilkins' schoolmate and future LA Dodger, Tommy Davis.
Joe Mullaney asked us to come up to Providence and to work out. And we did during that summer before I graduated. And we played against some guys from Holy Cross. And he also mentioned the fact that if I wanted to play baseball, that I could. He understood I was possible, you know, I could be a prospect in professional baseball.
Tommy was just a great athlete when we were growing up. And in high school, I tease him, or I tease my friends, because a lot of them didn't know that he was all-city basketball as well as baseball.
While Davis ended up not accepting Coach Mullaney's offer, Lenny Wilkins and his upstart coach were about to change the face of college basketball in New England.
Joe Mullaney arrives here in the mid-50s. No one knows who he is. No one knows what Providence College basketball is really. And it comes out of nowhere. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why it captured the state's attention back then, because it really did come out of nowhere. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't like Lenny Wilkins shows up here and he's a big-time recruit, and there are great stories in the Providence Journal. You know, Providence College lands this big recruit from New York. It's the exact opposite of that. It was all kind of done. Secrecy is not the word, but very silently, and all of a sudden, by 58, 59, they come out of nowhere.
Coming out of nowhere on the recruiting trail, the Friars were also to land one highly touted New England player from the Hartford area in John Egan.
I went to Providence College. I looked at it on a recommendation from Bob Cousy. I went to Cousy's camp. Cousy was a great player with the Celtics and Hall of Fame player. And when I went up there, I had some ability, and he recognized that. Bill Sharman was up there, who also played with the Celtics. And he said, I went to Holy Cross with Joe Mulaney. He's coaching at Providence College. I think you ought to check it out. Maybe a good place to go. Lenny Wilkins was already there. Lenny was 1 year ahead of me. Lenny graduated in '60. I graduated in 1961. So we went up there, and my father said, Dominican fathers, me boy. My father was born in Ireland. My mother, too. So he was really Irish Catholic. And he said, I think that would be a good spot for you.
Mulaney's staff weren't the only ones courting the talented young guard.
I had some other scholarships. I went down to University of Miami. I have nothing against University of Miami, but I went down there and I looked at the girls and I looked at the ocean and I said, man, I'm a little bit too smart for this. I would have flunked out like in 2 weeks.
As Egan decided where he would be playing college ball, an important relationship was starting to form between the Friars and Celtics because of what was known as the territorial draft. This connection would be critical in bringing talented black players to the Ocean State.
Len Wilkins, number 15. Into Jim Hadnot, who pivots, and he hits.
The Friars' first great big man was also a minority, Jim Hadnot, who grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area and was pushed to Providence College by Bill Russell. Bill Russell was obviously from the West Coast as well.
We got Jimmy Hadnot, who was the godchild of Bill Russell. So we had a 6'10" center.
Back in the day, the NBA had a territorial draft,
which meant that an NBA team had the draft rights to any college player within a 50-mile radius.
where you went to college, that pro team in your area had a chance to draft you. And obviously Russell thought that Hadnot was a potential pro, a potential Celtic, so he steered him to Joe Mulaney at Providence College.
Along with his physical stature, the big man also brought along a big personality.
Jimmy Hadnot was, from all indications, was the life of the party wherever he went. Not only was he 6'11", so he captured the room with his size, he also captured it with his personality and his vitality. And again, to put someone like him, someone like Lenny Wilkins, on this white middle-class campus, you couldn't have found a better person and a better, obviously, also basketball player to fit into the program at that point in time.
The pieces were now in place for this racially diverse Friar team to start their remarkable run. The team of 58-59 would go 17-6 during the regular season, advancing as far as the quarterfinals of the NIT tournament.
I know that we had a good team and we were playing well, and when we got to the NIT, which at that time was much bigger than the NC2A, everybody was excited.
Providence College going to the NIT in 1959 was like a team going to the Final Four today.
First game, we won by 2 points. We beat, I think it was Manhattan College, I can't remember, and one of the players on the team, Jimmy Schwartz, he made the big shot, you know, and we won by 2 points, I think it was. And then we went on, and then against St. Louis University, who was a top-rated school, I probably had my best game, and I think I had like 36 points, and we beat them in a double overtime. And so, you know, it was, like I said, it was a great time. The NIT was exciting. We would get like 7,000 fans would come down from Providence, and the New York papers couldn't believe it, that we had that kind of support.
The story is that every single PC student went to Madison Square Garden with the exception of one who's in the infirmary. The entire state took notice of this.
Well, way back in 1959, we were a pretty good team, and 60, we got better.
The Friars would indeed improve in 1960, getting a step closer to their ultimate goal as they finished a remarkable 21-4 and once again headed to Madison Square Garden. As the Friars celebrated another NIT Final Four appearance, both the school and the nation were about to face a decade of change that would mold the future of our country and change the game of basketball. It is with some irony that 1960 would be such an important year in Friar history, because around the country, 1960 was a pivotal year for civil rights. All around America, a movement was starting to gain momentum, and there was little that could stand in the way of the power of its purpose.
Black and white together, old and young, but mostly much younger than I am, and you have done your job.
In Montgomery, Alabama, blacks march on municipal buildings in support of lunch counter sit-ins. In Washington, D.C., youth march on our nation's capital in support of integrated schools. A Southern department store refuses lunch counter service to black students. Warnings of arrest, jail, and violence are issued.
Do you leave the store? You will not leave the store. You don't have to show a warrant for your arrest if you don't leave. Is that right? You understand that?
Yeah.
Please stay out of this. Now I'm talking to her.
At that time, on the road at that time, this was in the early 1960s. Of course, we were heavily influenced by the civil rights movement on every campus across the country at the time. This is 1959, 60, 61, 62, 63. So this is at the height of this whole thing. And height of the civil rights movement and the marches in Selma and the Martin Luther King's speech down in Washington, D.C. in 63.
I became acutely aware when we went to St. Louis, and we were basically told that we had to separate.
My junior year, we played St. Louis University in St. Louis, and it was very prejudiced there. And we all stayed together, which I give Joe a lot of credit, because I had met Oscar Robertson, and I knew that his teams, when they played in the South some places, he had to stay at a separate hotel. And I don't think I could have done that. I'd quit the team first. But he dealt with it, you know, and to his credit. But that's when I began to see it, you know, when we traveled south.
But when we got to New York City, it was totally different. You know, and of course we had so many New Yorkers on the team, and Joe was from New York, and all that. It was a totally different atmosphere.
When I was elected captain at Providence, I told Father Taylor, who was moderator, I guess, of athletics at Providence College, I said, but you know, something sticks in the back of my mind that I just thought I'd share it with you. So I went up to the athletic office and I explained it to him. I said, we were down to Cincinnati. I didn't know much about Cincinnati. I had never been there before. We're playing back-to-back games against Dayton and Xavier, and two great teams. We're at this hotel and we get into the greatest Cincinnati airport, which is actually in Kentucky, at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So the town was kind of quiet at the time. But there was a little coffee shop inside the hotel where we were staying. And 3 or 4 of the black players are on our team. I don't know exactly which one, but I remember talking to, I think it was Jimmy Hadnot about this. We were having dinner in Oakland one time, and I said, you know, I remember the night, and as I told Father Taylor, when they encouraged you to go to this coffee shop or this little all-night restaurant up the street. You weren't invited. They didn't overtly say, don't go in there, but he got the message. In the hotel coffee shop, I was angry, outraged. I had never seen anything like this before in my life. You know, he was our captain, he was my friend, I loved him. Off he went, so did Vinnie Ernst and myself. One right in back of him, we weren't part of any civil rights movement or any of that, but we were friends of Jimmy Hadnot, who was a great kid, happened to be black, and we shared in that embarrassment that he was experiencing.
In baseball, Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947. But for blacks still coming up through the minors in the 1950s, not much had really changed, particularly in the American South.
I signed in '56. We got out of high school. And then I went upstate New York, which wasn't bad. The next year, in '57, I went to Kokomo, Indiana. And had some, semblance of racism there, people calling me names. Wanted to know, did this color, did it come off and all kind of stuff like that. But I really had a problem when from '57, I went to the Texas League. And that's a different way of life. This is the way they grew up.
Growing up in the South, everything was black or white, either black or white, just separated. And once I got to Oklahoma, the campus, like 20,000 students plus, and probably 99% or more were white. And the consolation of the whole thing was that as an athlete, you had both black and white athletes, so we kind of bonded more together. So there wasn't a lot of racial tension on the athletes, but you could see it around the city, around the town. In certain places you didn't go, and certain things you didn't do.
The word nigger is no big thing, it was just an everyday occurrence. And I just had to get used to, which I did. I realized I couldn't fight it because I'm only one person. So, when we're playing at home, and I can hear things, if I made a great catch, and they would say something like, this is our nigger, that's our nigger, he's great, all that kind of stuff.
We bought a house. I remember the first house my wife and I bought. We had just had one child, and she was expecting. So we felt like we needed to get out of the apartment and buy a house. And we bought a home in an area called Moline Acres. And when we moved in, for sale signs went up everywhere. And we had a little collie that we made the mistake and left it in the yard, in the backyard, and just went a block or two to the supermarket. When we came back, it was sick, took it to the vet, and it died. It was poisoned. And so, but I was determined to let those people know that they were going to intimidate us.
The 1960-61 season started with concern over filling the void left behind by the graduation of future Hall of Famer Lenny Wilkens.
He's going to shoot. Swish.
As the Friars sent Wilkens on to the NBA, two great guards and a very deep Providence team would take his place and carry Providence into the history books. PC would finish the regular season 21-4. And once again headed to Madison Square Garden.
In '61, we went back, and we won the tournament that year. We had a very good team. Jimmy Hadnot, who now passed away, was a great player. He was a center. Vinnie Ernst, who also passed away, he was on that team. And we had a lot of good players, and the whole city followed us from Providence, went to New York.
People lined the street from the Connecticut border all the way into downtown Providence, where there were 10,000 people in downtown Providence. That wouldn't happen today. The only way you could replicate that is by winning the national title, and you still might not be able to replicate it.
Now that the Friars were in the national spotlight, other black players around the country were starting to notice the team's success.
The influx became bigger, obviously. So they say there were 2 black players. There were none when I came here as a student in 41. We had 2, therefore, in the 50s. It was the NIT, I think, that really made us, so forth, and also encouraged players, for instance, to come from all over.
I think the size of Providence College lent them the ability to take chances on a lot of people, not just African Americans. This was a place where first-generation Americans sent their kids to college. That was definitely what the school was founded on, continued certainly up through the 60s and maybe even into the 70s.
Mulaney's gamble with Lenny Wilkens paid off. The Friars didn't need to take a big chance on the next important African-American recruit, John Thompson.
Well, John Thompson, see, I see him, he and Hadnot were linked together in the sense that they were, not only were they black players, they were 6'10" black players. 6'10" black players back in the early 60s was like somebody maybe 7'5" today. They were true giants.
John Thompson wound up here primarily, I think John would tell you, because his mama wanted him to go to a Catholic school. He had played in a Catholic school, he grew up in one, obviously. And so his mother said, you know, you go look at Catholic colleges.
In 1984, Thompson would make history of his own, becoming the first black coach in college basketball to win a national title.
John Thompson, who went to Providence, he was a freshman when I was a senior. I got a ring once for silver anniversary team. He presented it to me. 25 years out of college, 1961, it was 86, and it was the NCAA finals. And he made a little speech and he said, you know, I'll never forget Johnny Egan, Providence College. I used to pull back my shade and look, and he'd be walking to church in the morning and it would be snowing out. And he said, I never forgot that.
The addition of John Thompson during the 62-63 season set the stage for yet another run at a national title.
Denny Ernst down court for the Friars. Providence defeated Miami and Marquette to earn its chance for the title. Nice play, and little Vinny gets the basket. O'Connor underneath and misses. Thompson rebounds, and it's 3-on-1 for Providence. Denny Ernst gives to Jim Stone for the score. Over to Ray Flynn, and Mr. Outside hits again. There's a close look at Ernst, a real mover. Over to Bob Kowaleski, Jim Stone. Stone is driving, and watch the pass to Kowaleski for the basket. In the closing minutes of the final, their control tells the story. Kowaleski's shot rims the basket, but Flynn rebounds, and he doesn't miss. 81-66. Providence College defeats Canisius in the NIT. Congratulations, Coach Mulaney.
Joe Mulaney was quite a man. Joe Mulaney, he could stay in the court all day long and he wouldn't get free baskets in the hoop there. He wasn't like an offensive guy. He was everything, but he was a leader.
Joe was probably one of the best defensive coaches ever in the game of basketball. And I would watch him. In fact, when I was a freshman, I'd sit right behind the varsity because I wanted to see what he saw, you know, because he was always yelling and, you know, say this, that, or the other.
And then the coach would tell him, you know, pass the ball, do this, do that. And Mulaney would yell from the sidelines during the game, you know, don't do that, or what are you doing, how come? And the guy could be like just ready to shoot and it could have been a bad shot and he'd be screaming, you know, don't do that, you know.
He was a coach's coach, an everyman type guy.
The only thing he ever drank was probably Coca-Cola. I mean, that was his drink, you know. He loved to go to the racetrack. That was his only vice. He loved to go to the racetrack and watch the horses run, you know, but was a guy that gave us some latitude.
When we went to practice, Joe Mulaney was strict with us, but let us play our game. Like I was a flashy player, and Mulaney was flashy when he played. He played with Bob Cousy, and Cousy was a flashy player. You know, you throw passes behind your back, and you do all kinds of stuff like that. And I used to practice with Mulaney. just throwing passes like full court behind our back. And, you know, the guy was the coach.
And as a result of that, we learned the most important part of sports is teamwork.
And getting back to the racial thing again, you know, you think, well, black guy would go, oh, I'm not going to throw it to that white guy. That never happened.
When I was elected captain of the Providence College Friars, I think every black player on the team, which were considerable, voted for me for captain. And somebody wrote a story about it and said, you know, why would somebody from South Boston get every black vote on the Providence College team? And I'd say, well, he probably understood, had a great friendship with black players as much as any white player did over the years.
Sometime in the fire, sometime in the fire, sweet Jesus, He carry me. Sometime in the fire, sometime in the water, sometime in the water, sweet Jesus, He carry me. Sometime in the water.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
At the pro level, you begin to be aware of these things. They had some demonstrations in St. Louis, you know. I marched in a couple of them, and the Hawks thought I was crazy.
Because we were heavily influenced by the civil rights movement on every campus across the country at the time.
We knew that there was, you know, there was a movement, and there were a long way to go in a lot of places. And I'm not saying that there wasn't even in Providence, Rhode Island at the time.
I don't know if there was any seminal moment when things changed. It was just, I mean, the times were changing, and they were changing kind of gradually, and sports were a big part of it, because sports enabled white people to see blacks in a different way than they were used to seeing them. They weren't servile, they weren't waiters, they were great players, and they were great athletes. And so sports became one of the arenas that really showcased blacks to a larger white audience.
Congress passes the most sweeping civil rights bill ever to be written into the law, and thus reaffirms the conception of equality for all men that began with Lincoln and the Civil War 100 years ago. The Negro won his freedom then. He wins his dignity now.
As Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act into law, the next great friar was enrolled as a freshman on the Providence campus and was about to help revolutionize the game of basketball.
Jimmy Walker's impact at Providence, I think, is still being felt today. I think back in the late 50s and early 60s when Wilkins and Egan and Hadnot and John Thompson were starring, I think college basketball was big, but it wasn't exploding. And throughout the 60s, with the great Ohio State teams and Oscar Robertson and Pistol Pete a little later in the 60s, you had to be even bigger. And Jimmy Walker was as big as it was.
we had the situation like with Billy Blair, who was one of our black players, and when Dave Gavitt, thanked his mother for what a fine young man, what a great player he was, she said, you should see his cousin, Jimmy Walker. And Jimmy Walker was buried in Rottenberg Prep in Carolina. Nobody knew what a great player he was.
Joe Mulaney ran this basketball camp, and he comes back to the camp. This is like the last week in August, and he says to somebody, we just got a great player. And Jimmy Walker was a black kid from Boston who had been sent down to Laurinburg Institute in North Carolina because he had been befriended by Sam Jones, who was a great Celtic star, and had a relation who came from North Carolina and knew the coach at Laurinburg. So Walker had flown underneath the radar, and all of a sudden, somehow, PC gets Jimmy Walker and Dexter Westbrook, who's a 6'7" black kid from New York, off the Laurinburg team, and they are two obviously great players, and Walker becomes arguably the best player in PC history, or certainly in the top 2 or 3.
I followed all the Providence College teams when I was growing up. I was a Jimmy Walker fan.
It was easy for Walker to build a huge fan base as he led the Friars to the NCAA Elite 8 in 1967. In his senior year, the guard would average 30 points a game and become the #1 pick in the NBA draft by the Detroit Pistons.
Well, Jimmy, we hate to say this, but the end of the schedule is coming along for basketball at PC, and when it does, it means the end of Jimmy Walker as a great All-American at PC. What are your future plans, and how do you feel about this?
Well, it's been a pleasure. 4 years at Providence, I have no regrets at all. It's really been a pleasure, and I'm going to play professional basketball, and possibly a little professional football if I get the right offer.
Walker's all-time Friars scoring record would stand until 2005, when another New England standout, Ryan Gomes, broke the mark, ending his career with 2,138 points. In the mid-1960s, things were starting to change even in the South. During the 1965-66 season, small Texas Western, with a predominantly black team, advanced to the NCAA Finals. In the championship game, they faced an all-white Kentucky Wildcats team. The Miners would make history by becoming the first team to start 5 black players in a championship game.
It was a seminal game of basketball history. You had an all-black team from some little school that no one had ever heard of, playing against Kentucky, the Yankees of college basketball. And you couldn't watch the game. I mean, it was more than just a basketball game. It was a sociological game. And it was, I think it changed basketball forever.
At that time, I was the chaplain at Catholic University, and the game was played at the Cole Fieldhouse in Maryland. I went to the game. It was a very heated house because Maryland, obviously, like a border state, and Kentucky was cream of the crop, top of it, all white and so forth. Texas Western was made up mostly, I think, of black kids from New York City. And of course, they expected Kentucky to win, as they always did, etc. So it was a very charged atmosphere, and when it became no doubt that Texas Western was going to win, you can see this is a seismic shift in the basketball world to beat Kentucky for the national championship with an all-black team. It was historic.
It wouldn't be until 1970 before Kentucky coach Adolph Rupp would add his first black player to the Wildcats roster. By the early 1970s, it was obvious around the nation that if you didn't integrate your team, you were going to be left behind. In In 1969, Joe Mulaney went on to coach the LA Lakers. As Mulaney set sail for the NBA, another basketball visionary would take his place in the form of Dave Gavitt. An assistant under Mulaney, Gavitt would carry the torch of innovation into the next decade.
Well, I thought Coach Gavitt was a genius in one respect where he not only knew the game and knew how to change defenses and confuse other teams, but he was a people person. In other words, when you're a coach of a basketball team, you don't deal with every player the same. For instance, some players are sensitive. I was very sensitive. He couldn't really holler at me because I'd go into a shell. So he treated me a little bit differently. Some people don't work real hard, and then you have to yell at them. But he had a way where he could get each individual player in a room, and when he was done with them, make them feel how important they were to the team and his views, and I think that was special. I haven't met many people who had that ability.
Coach Gavitt was a stern coach. He was a good coach. He was meticulous. He had us go over plays over and over. He was a tactician. He was a general.
I want you to anticipate now the possibility of going to the 4 defense.
I don't know of anybody in the world that doesn't like Dave Gavitt. And I think for reasons because he cared for people.
After a decade of success with Coach Mulaney, Gavitt and the Friars had little trouble attracting local talent to add to their roster. 2 homegrown players, one black from South Providence, one white from North Providence, would take the Friars on another magical ride.
Marvin used to take me in the John Hope Settlement Center, which was a place up at South Providence, and I used to play with all his guys. And they never really thought I was that good, you know, until I got there.
I would take Ernie down South Providence because there'd be some black guys down there saying, a little white guy can't play, Italian boy, bring him down here. I'd bring Ernie down there. Ernie bring me to North Federal Hill.
And then when I used to go out there and kick their rear ends, then they started to realize that I was for real. Marvin and I had a very special relationship.
I think the relationship that Marvin Barnes and Ernie DiGregorio have to this day is very special because you take a black kid from South Providence, a tough part of South Providence, and an Italian kid from North Providence, separated only by less than 5 miles.
Marvin used to come over my house and eat spaghetti dinners and be with my family, and I used to go over his house with his mother Lula and Alfreda and his family, and they treated me like a son.
The dazzling wizardry of DiGregorio, along with an inspiring team chemistry and tremendous leadership, all helped Providence make an incredible run to the Final Four in 1973. Years after Dexter Davis put on a Friar uniform, Providence College turned another important page in its storied basketball history. In March 2011, Providence College welcomed its first black coach, Providence native Ed Cooley.
And what I care about most is I wanted a coach that would be a mentor for these student athletes. The game of life is more important than the game of basketball. And I wanted a coach to coach them in the game of life.
Not only will we win here, not only do I believe we're going to win here, but we're going to win, and we're going to win big.
Because I talked to the kids today, and the one thing that I always tell the kids and even the guys in my situation is that try to remember the history, because you learn from the history. We didn't get here just by showing up. Somebody paved the way for us getting here. So, the same guys that paved the way for me to get here, we're paving the way for you. So you have to pave the way for the other people to get there. So just remember that, and always remember where you came from and who helped you get where you're going. And that would really benefit everybody.